I'm never able to upload any videos because of the music I play. It's my own fault. And I know I listen to shitty old music, but I enjoy it. There's a few things in particular I want to talk about. I made some notes, but here's also my to-do list. Cage, Back Against the Wall, good tune, I want to learn it. Glue the Guitar Neck, I did that. It's the second one on the list there. Lock, I need to get one. Before the place is closed, that'd be a good idea. Screen for my yard. I want to screen it in from bugs. Clutch, I need to buy one for my motorbike. Marion's lithophane, got some work to do on that. That's actually what I intend to work on first. The Predator bust is coming along, as you can see here. Trying to do this, what I have in green, which is mini. Trying to do it full size. Got a good bit of work left to do on it, but making progress. I need to modify the model. This is a dragon similar to this one, but it's just finished printing. Letting the bed cool off. This printer can turn off. This is my most recent design. Just kidding. Downloaded off Thingiverse and printed it. Another shelf. Bam. Just like all these. Also, I need to plastic dip this thing and spray paint it. Send it to my dad. I was under the impression that, because somebody I worked with told me PETG liked a higher layer height, and I had to epoxy this thing. I don't know if this PETG likes higher layer height so much. Anyhow, black rubber bands also, I could use some if they make them. I've got a purple one at my house. Let's see if they make black rubber bands. Also, so I wanted to grab my backpack, which has got something in it I want to talk about. Let's see. Black rubber bands. I could just use some Ninja Flex or something. TPU. Okay, this is what I want to talk about. Along with this guy. Haven't had a chance to use it yet, but I made it the other day. It's a flexible, it does a good job of demonstrating. Silicone device. Made for what you probably think. This is probably too fat in here, and this is probably too thin in here. I don't know. Maybe this could work. Haven't had a chance to test it yet. There's totally something else in there I want to talk about. I just don't know the TPU stuff. I need to get that done. There's more things on the list here. Plastic dip, silver spray paint, sponsorships. Want to get people to give me stuff. That'd be badass. More little Sharpies, not like this big one, but the little ones, which are badass. Only have one. I'm working from the bottom up. Prime South Meats, I got to work on the stuff for them. A door, bacon racks. I need to come up with some covers for their smokers, grills, the e-bike, scooter designs and scans. I need to do all that stuff with the e-bike thing. Holy shit. My buddy emailed me a list of things to order to make my own e-bike, much like the one he has. Life's falling away. Life's falling away from me. Life's falling away from me. What? Can't find the damn thing. Tell me, email me a list. Maybe send it to me via text. Skull mold, need to finish that. Cement, I need some of that. I got more stuff to do, but this is the main thing, the sex toy report. So I talked about the one thing you just saw. It's for the females. This one's for the males. Taking it apart looks pretty ugly. But honestly, it maybe a little bit too firm or too thick. I think if I made it thinner, it'd be more flexible. I need to burn this because I can now say conclusively that it does work. It doesn't work miraculously or anything, but it fucking works. I obviously need to mess with more flexible materials, which I think I know what I need for that. But I also need to work on my process to produce the things. That was sloppy. I cut it in half with an X-Acto knife. I should have molded it in halves. It's ridiculous. Yeah. I never thought that I could ever use a fucking fleshlight, but having now used one that I made, I can see why other people would use them. It just adds an element of excitement, I guess, something new and different. It's so fucking ridiculous. Been reading Stealing Fire, and it's been talking about, I'm at page 100. Ecstasis. Ecstasis being like a state of ecstasy. Ecstasis. Let's say page 44, ecstasis. I'm not seeing ecstasis here yet, but I do see one of the words I recently learned reading this book. Anamnesis, which I think would be a great band name, which means apparently in Greek, the forgetting of the forgetting, or a powerful sense of remembering. Kind of like deja vu. It's extremely frequent phenomenon, that sudden feeling which sometimes sweeps over us, having been here before, as if it's some indefinite past time, in just this place we were already saying just these things. And that feeling of waking up to some ineffable truth that's been in us all along can feel deeply significant. Often an ecstatic experience begins when the brain releases norepinephrine and dopamine into our system. These neurochemicals raise heart rates, tighten focus, and help us sit up and pay attention. And it talks about lateral thinking, which is our ability to make far-flung connections between disparate ideas. Post-its, slinkies, silly putty, superglue, and a host of other breakthroughs all came when an inventor made a sideways leap, applying an overlooked tool in a novel way. In part, that's anandamide at work. Anandamide. And then also references umwelt, which is a technical term for the sliver of the data stream that we normally apprehend. It's the reality our senses can perceive, and all umwelts are not the same. Dogs hear whistles, we cannot. Sharks detect electromagnetic pulses, bees see ultraviolet light, while we remain oblivious. It's the same physical world, same bits and bytes, just different perception and processing. But the cascade of neurobiological data that occurs in a non-ordinary state lets us perceive and process more of what's going on around us, and with greater accuracy. In these states, we get upstream of our umwelt. We get access to increased data, heightened perception, and amplified connection, and this lets us see ecstasis for what it really is, and information technology, big data for our minds. So then it talks about the four forces of ecstasis. A quote from Cicero: "No one dances sober unless he is insane." It talks about Christ, where the words hocus pocus probably came from, which hoc est corpus, this is the body. Anyhow, it talks about, this is a really good chapter. A really good chapter. Taking the kink out of kinky. The lineage that goes from Esalen to EST to Eckhart Tolle, that is one of increasing self-exploration and pushing beyond the limits of what was considered safe or acceptable. Price and the Beats gave us a way to get past the taboos of primal expression and mental illness. Erhard broke down the taboo segregating spiritual merit from material excess. The human potential movement normalized the use of ecstatic practices for psychological growth. Along the way, we came up with broader versions of ourselves and new ways to interact with each other, but nowhere were taboos more visibly challenged than in the realm of sexuality. It talks about the, One Taste, this company, which is definitely worth looking up, let's say. Neurobiologist Anjan Chatterjee, in his book The Aesthetic Brain, where they say the release from orgasm is famously referred to as la petite mort, the little death. The person is in a state without fear and without thought of themselves or their future plans. This pattern of deactivation could be the brain state of a purely transcendent experience, enveloping a core experience of pleasure. Social scientist Jenny Wade has spent her career studying these same phenomena. She says the fact is, sex all by itself, and she wrote this in her book, Transcendent Sex, apparently, can trigger states identical to those attained by spiritual adepts of all traditions. By Wade's estimate, nearly 20 million Americans have had at least one encounter with boundary-dissolving, self-obliterating sex. It's happened to countless thousands of people regardless of their background. She notes, to hairdressers, investment managers, nurses, lawyers, retailers, and executives. And I'm sure in there you could include Muslims, maybe probably nuns and priests, atheists, black, white. But if 20 million of us have experienced transcendent sex, why aren't we talking about it more often? We've got so many here. It talks about 50 Shades of Grey and how it sold more than all of Harry Potter series combined. For the past 5 years, the French research group Sexualitics has been building the Porngram, an analytic tool to track online sexual behaviors across the world. Traces left by billions of users give us cultural snapshots of tastes. They wrote in their 2014 paper, Deep Tags, toward a quantitative analysis of online pornography. More importantly, they enable researchers to look for structures and patterns in the evolutionary dynamics of practices adopted by a significant and growing proportion of the human population. And the biggest pattern revealed by this data is that we're more curious about the outer edges of human sexuality than at any other time in history. And this includes women, who now make up a third of all online porn viewers. Simply judging by today's top search terms and assortment that would make a sailor blush, we find a greater interest in activities that, until recently, were considered deviant by psychiatric professionals or prosecuted outright by law. So, it also talks about how the American Psychiatric Association agreed to redefine aberrant sexual behavior in 2010 in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, or the Bible for Mental Illness Classification, making a clear distinction between elective play and actual pathology. For the first time, consenting adults weren't considered morally deviant or mentally ill for choosing sexual behavior that was beyond the pale. So, 3D printing has enabled me to apparently develop my own sex toys, which is what I'm working on doing, along with weapons technologies and just ridiculousness. And it's so awesome, and I love it. And I wanted to talk about it and report on it And I wanted this to be a minute long, but it's obviously way longer than that. So I've got a lot of work to do, and some coffee to drink, and an email to find. I think I might have received it via text message, so I gotta end this video. The only other thing I wanted to say, which is only relevant because I felt it in my pocket, this voice recording device which I carry around with me, and I wanted to play and listen to my thoughts about, on, or whatever. See if I can find it. I've been doing some things right too, I think. I have created a couple things recently which I've actually been able to use. As ridiculous as those things are, I still actually use them, which gives me hope that I might be able to create even more usable things. I have definitely fucked up though on a lot of things, like it seems to some, I'm sure. The job I've been doing that paid me most recently is what I'm living off of right now. The guy who got me in there expressed dissatisfaction with my recent behavior and that I've been unresponsive to calls and I haven't showed up, done any work, and he supposed that there be any number of things going wrong, one of which perhaps smoking again, ganja. Somebody just expressed interest in the bird again, as always. Really need to start selling these things. I'm trying to follow my heart, listen to my gut now these days. I mean, it's kind of hard not to. And things have been going as well as they have been. Things aren't perfect, but I love where I live. You know, I took a shower today in a bathing suit, so I don't have the greenhouse up, which it's all ridiculous. It's definitely not to like state city codes by any means. I'm planning on installing a urinal outside because it smells like piss from me peeing all the time. I've killed a bunch of plants. There's one small tree in the yard that I've killed the fuck out of. It's not coming back ever. I thought for a minute there it might have a chance to come back, but it's definitely not coming back. Riding this bird though is the best thing in the world. The only thing that compares is riding the electric bike, which I want to call the Cheetah. Not yet. The Cheetah's an idea I had for something years ago that I still haven't executed on, but it seems very likely that I may be able to in the near future. With all the things I've been doing and the way I've been doing them, definitely need a blowtorch soon to heat metal and bend it. Okay, so yeah, I just basically was talking on my way in here today about stuff that's on my mind. And I went to grab a burrito earlier from the taco truck down the street, and this guy was sitting there with two women looking poor, broke, and homeless as fuck. See me, made eye contact, then I greeted them, said, "How are you?" He was like, "Good. Hey, let me ask you something." It's like, "Dude, I can't help you." You know, he's like, "No, I don't want any money." He's like, "I'm just wanting something to eat." There was a guy yesterday with a kid. This guy today was white. The guy yesterday was black, and he's just like, "Hey, I'm just trying to get something to drink, you know, a bottle of water or something." I'm just like, it's ridiculous. Drink free water out of a cup, like everybody, any fucking normal person would do. He's like tweaking out and shit. It's very sad. This guy today asked me if I could help him out. He said he's trying to get some food. I poured this out. And I was like, "You want to do an interview?" He's like, "For what?" I'm like, "For my podcast." He was like, "No." I'm like, "Okay, sorry." So if he's not willing to work with me and just talk on the record, why should I be willing to just give him some of my money? Thing is, it's a really shitty way to feel, I feel like. We should all be helping each other. It should not be that fucked up and hard for people to just live and survive. Maybe it's the way it should be, isn't it? And if you're not going to work, you just deserve to die, you know? feel really fucking heartless. But I find it quite interesting. I feel like I might run into him again. I need to try to interview more people and help more people, because I hate the way things seem to be going, where it's like people are just fucked because they're poor. Anyhow.